All right, let's jump right into this explainer with a story that is kind of strange, but totally true. It's about the legendary escape artist, Harry Houdini. So legend has it that Houdini once made this massive boast. He claimed he could break out of literally any jail cell in the world in under an hour, with just one condition. He had to be able to walk in wearing his normal street clothes. Naturally, a jail down south took him up on it. They put him in a cell, slammed the heavy metal doors shut, and just left him there. Houdini, cool as a cucumber, takes off his coat, slides off his belt, and pulls out this secretly hidden 10-inch piece of flexible steel. He gets straight to work. But about 30 minutes in, that confident smirk completely vanishes. An hour passes, and the guy is just drenched in sweat. Finally, after 2 grueling, agonizing hours of picking and pulling, Houdini is totally exhausted. He just collapses in absolute defeat against the cell door. I mean, think about the pure physical toll he took, right? Fighting with everything he had against a mechanism that wasn't even engaged. Because the crazy part is, the second his dead weight hit that heavy metal, the door simply swung open.
Crazy, right? That door was never actually locked in the first place. Houdini couldn't escape because he just automatically assumed the lock was engaged. He was fighting a massive battle against a mechanism that wasn't even fighting back. And honestly, that completely unlocked door, it is the perfect representation of the mental prison of overthinking that we build for ourselves every single day. We spend hours, days, sometimes literally weeks, desperately trying to pick the lock of a problem in our heads without ever realizing that the barrier isn't even real. It's entirely constructed by our own minds. You know, there's this old African proverb that says, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Our minds are incredibly powerful, for sure, but man, they so often trap us in prisons of our own making.
Look, if you're constantly feeling bogged down by chronic stress, or you find yourself repeating past conversations in the shower, or dealing with awful decision paralysis, I just want to say, your feelings are totally validated. An astounding 73% of 25 to 35-year-olds and 52% of 45 to 55-year-olds are struggling with this exact same invisible lock. It's incredibly common. But here is the really great news. Overthinking is not a permanent personality trait. It's not who you are. It's just a learned habit. And habits, well, they can be unlearned.
Okay, let's get into Section 1, the unlocked mental prison and escaping the illusion of control.
A really crucial starting point here is drawing a very sharp line between healthy, actionable problem-solving and actual overthinking. We get these confused all the time because overthinking loves to masquerade as productivity. It feels like we're doing something, but true problem-solving is action-oriented. It makes things concrete in the present moment. Overthinking, on the flip side, is entirely fear-based. It's dwelling on everything you have absolutely no control over, usually in the past or the future. Your brain is essentially trying to prepare for every possible outcome, but it just ends up completely exhausting itself. It's literally like pressing the gas pedal and the brakes at the exact same time. You're burning a massive amount of energy, totally ruining your tires, and you're not actually going anywhere.
Moving on to Section 2, Why Your Brain Overthinks. Spoiler alert, it's really just a misguided survival mechanism.
Okay, the neuroscience behind this is absolutely fascinating. It all comes down to a group of brain regions called the default mode network, or DMN. Now, the brain's main job is survival, right? That's its whole gig. So whenever it senses uncertainty, it instantly goes into prediction mode to protect you. For a chronic overthinker, this default mode network basically acts like a giant echo chamber. It's like a full-body car alarm that never really shuts off, desperately scanning and searching for patterns to keep you safe from perceived threats, even if that threat is literally just a slightly vaguely worded email from your boss.
And the reason this becomes such a heavy burden to carry is because of something called neuroplasticity. That's just a fancy word for the brain's ability to strengthen neural pathways through repetition. Think of your brain like a really dense forest. The first time you walk a new trail, it's covered in brush, it's hard to get through. But if you walk that exact same path over and over and over again, it eventually becomes a wide, paved road. Every single time we repeat a panicked thought loop, we are literally paving a permanent highway of anxiety in our physical brains, which obviously makes it the easiest and fastest route for our thoughts to travel down by default.
So why do we keep walking down that paved road? Well, because it accidentally rewards us. The human mind generally only keeps doing things that it subconsciously gets something out of. Overthinking gives us this false sense of control. It lets us avoid fear by pretending we can be totally perfect. It strokes our intolerance of uncertainty, and it gives us the total illusion that we are doing quote-unquote important work. But if you look a little closer, these rewards are really just clever little tricks our minds play to avoid deep-seated fears. You think that if you just compulsively think about a problem from every angle, you can keep yourself safe. But yeah, it entirely backfires.
Which brings us to Section 3, the philosophy of anxiety, and how we navigate those conflicting desires.
I absolutely love this concept from the thinker Naval Ravikant. He uses this brilliant metaphor. Think about an iron beam in a building. If that beam is under stress, it's because it is physically being bent in two completely different directions at the exact same time. Naval points out that when your mind is under stress, it's exactly the same thing. You have two conflicting desires pulling at you all at once. You want to be liked by everyone, but you also want to do something for yourself. You really don't want to go to work, but you obviously want to make money. It shows us that our internal stress isn't some fundamental personality flaw. It's literally just the heavy, exhausting weight of conflicting desires bending our minds. Recognizing this is huge because it helps us see that sometimes we just have to pick a direction and be okay with letting the other one go.
And navigating these conflicting desires leads us to a pretty profound philosophical question. It's one that usually stops overthinkers dead in their tracks and completely challenges our whole perspective on how brief life really is. Ask yourself right now, what is truly wasted time?
The answer here might actually surprise you. True wasted time isn't about sitting on the couch and being unproductive. According to Naval, wasted time is when your mind is just running away, constantly anticipating some future disaster or agonizing over some past mistake, and you miss out entirely on the simple joy of the present moment. You might as well not even be there for that specific moment, because you are completely absorbed in an imagined, fake reality inside your own head. The reality right in front of you is literally the only thing that actually exists.
All right, let's get practical. Section 4, rewiring your thought loops. Here are the tactical keys to walk out of that mental cell.
Therapist Emma McAdam outlines a few brilliant cognitive behavioral steps to rewire this habit. First up is simply noticing and naming it. Just saying out loud, "Hey, I am overthinking right now," actually separates you from the thought itself. Second, and this one is so incredibly practical, schedule a hard boundary for when your brain is allowed to panic. Literally put a 35-minute worry time on your calendar at, say, 2 p.m. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but it actively teaches your brain that there is a time and a place for worry, and it absolutely doesn't need to nag you all day long. Finally, visualize a TV remote control and literally just change the channel. Shift your attention away from the compulsive worry and purposefully tune back into the physical, present moment around you using your 5 senses.
And this brings us to an absolute ultimate rule of thumb. If you take one thing away from this explainer, make it this: never worry in your head. Always do it on paper. Keeping these vague, cloudy anxieties trapped up in your mind gives them infinite expanding power. They just grow and grow. But the exact moment you write them down, like doing a brain dump or a simple pros and cons list, you force those thoughts into concrete physical boundaries. It shows your brain that yes, you are taking the threat seriously, but you're doing it entirely on your own terms.
Finally, Section 5, returning to the present by changing the question.
You can instantly break the cycle of rumination by taking a really close look at the language you're using inside your own head. Overthinkers constantly ask themselves these unanswerable abstract questions. Why am I such a failure? Why does this always happen to me? Let's be real, these questions literally never lead to action. They just lead straight to self-loathing. You need to shift your brain to concrete, action-oriented questions. So instead of asking, why am I so depressed? Ask yourself, what is one small thing I can do today for my mental health? Instead of, why can't I succeed in relationships? Try asking, what is one relationship skill I can work on right now? It's a game changer. It instantly turns your fear into forward motion. So, we've seen how the mind can act as this relentless echo chamber, bending you like an iron beam under heavy stress. But we also know, for a fact, that you hold the keys. If the door of your mental cell is actually completely unlocked, just like Houdini's was, you have to ask yourself, how much of your actual living, breathing reality are you missing out on by choosing to stay trapped inside your mind? Step through the door. The reality right in front of you is waiting. Take a deep breath and trust yourself.